Hey guys, how's it going? Tominator here. So now it's time to turn our attention to Classic Physique. And this is, of course, the 2019 Mr. Olympia. These are your top 5 finalists. From left to right, we have Keon Pearson, Breon Ansley, Chris Bumstead, George Peterson, and Chen Kang. Okay, and these were your top 3, of course. So there's a lot to make of this, and definitely a bit of a controversial outcome, with Chris Bumstead winning, upsetting the 2-time defending champ Breon Ansley. And I know a lot of people are saying that Breon should have won. And I think that he had an excellent shot of three-peating this year, and I think it could have gone either way, to be perfectly honest. But I do understand the judge's decision here. And we'll go through this pose for pose, and I'll kind of explain what I mean. You could easily make a case for any one of these gentlemen, George Peterson included, because they all have their various strengths and weaknesses, their own kind of unique appeal. So it was a very hard-fought contest and probably the most interesting division in this entire Olympia. Here's the official scorecard. There were so many competitors. I think it was like 35 or 36 guys. And at a certain point, it's like, okay, this is the Mr. Olympia we're talking about, the most prestigious bodybuilding show on the planet. Why are we letting anybody and everybody in here? I mean, they should really cap it at like maybe 20 competitors max, just to make it a little more exclusive, more cream of the crop, so to speak. Qualifying for the Olympia should not be as easy and as widespread as it is in this division. There should never be this many competitors. I mean, look, the scorecard stops at 16, so what's the point? What's the point in having more than 20 competitors? And I don't get it, man. Anyway, you can see right here, though, I'm going to highlight it for you. Breon Ansley at the bottom there, 8 points. Chris Bumstead, 7. So it was a single-point decision. This would indicate that of the 5 judges, 3 of them had Bumstead in first, and 2 of them had Breon in first. So a single judge's vote could have swayed the outcome here. And it's interesting because it's exactly the reverse of what happened last year, where Breon defeated Bumstead by a single point. Now, why they don't break it up into judging and finals, why don't they have sub-scores in those columns, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Were they just too lazy because there's so many competitors? Because they did have judging and finals, so to me, there's no reason why they shouldn't have 2 separate scores there, but whatever. Doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Front double biceps. So we got a top 5 call out here in the finals. I'm really just going to focus on the top 3 primarily. And this one right here, I would give to Breon for sure. For the biceps alone, man, he's just dusting Bumstead in the bis and tris. Bumstead looks really good everywhere else. I think his torso is actually a little more impressive than Breon's with that vacuum and the slightly tighter waist, the lats that really pop out. But when we're talking about a front double biceps, Bumstead doesn't really have biceps, so got to go with Breon on this one. I would actually have Keon Pearson there on the left in second, because I think he cuts a magnificent outline with those massive arms, and again, the vacuum, the nice taper like Bumstead. Excellent quad sweep. He's just a little bit small and not quite as conditioned as the top guys. And here we have the top 3 call out where we can get a closer look. This is from prejudging. And now, I gotta say, I'm leaning towards Bumstead, believe it or not, because yes, Breon's still beating him in the arms, but I think Bumstead's winning everywhere else. I prefer his lats, I prefer his big ribcage and chest, and his more cinched in waist. I think his legs look better. So yeah, I'm going to give this one to Bumstead. So I think, depending on whether we're talking about prejudging or the finals, it could go either way. It's very close. Closer than you would think on paper, given Breon's notable advantage through the biceps. In the side chest, and again, these guys are just so neck and neck. It's really like splitting hairs here. I think they look surprisingly almost identical through the upper body. I mean, when you go body part for body part, compare their chests, compare their shoulders, even their arms, and they look almost like clones of one another. It's just Bumstead's a little taller. They start to become a little bit more different when we look at the lower body, with Bumstead showing a little bit more definition through the side of his glutes. But then again, Breon's got probably a better split between the hams and quadriceps, because his is sharp all the way up from the knee to the glute ham tie-in. So, I don't know. I would probably give this one to Bumstead because it's so close in terms of the conditioning and everything, that when we're talking about bodybuilding, all things being equal, bigger is always better, and Bumstead is bigger, so I give him the slight advantage here in the side chest. But from this angle and prejudging, I think Breon looks a little better. So again, it's like splitting hairs. It's so close. Could go either way, depending on which millisecond the picture was snapped and what your personal preferences are. But I think maybe just because Breon's opened up a little bit more, so it makes his chest appear that much broader. I'm leaning towards him right here. It's got to be said, if this was a bodybuilding contest, I think George Peterson is beating both these guys because he's more massive, he's more thickly developed, and he's just as conditioned as anybody. But the problem is, and let's go into the back double bicep, and this will prove my point. The problem is here for Peterson is that he's like overdeveloped for this division. You know what I'm saying? Like, this just does not look very classic to me. Those lats and traps and the shoulders even. This could stand on stage easily with pretty much any of the 212 guys. Even in the open class, this back would do damage, man. Despite him giving up many, many pounds to most of the open class competitors. In classic, what we're looking for, I think, is more of an athletic look, more of an aesthetic appeal. And George Peterson doesn't really have that quality, at least not to the same extent that most of these other guys do. He certainly doesn't have the pretty shape of a Keon Pearson or the balance and proportions of a Breon Ansley. So to me, Peterson, and it's been said before, is basically like a 212 competitor, a pretty aesthetic 212 competitor. But I'm not going to say that he needs to go into the 212 category because he's doing really well right where he is. I mean, third place in the world, 3 years running now, plus an Arnold Classic title under his belt. This guy, it's his choice. If he wants to stay here, more power to him. You know, I think he brings something unique to the table that not a lot of other guys offer. But I do agree that I think he'd be more suited to 212. So in the back double bicep, it goes without saying that Bumstead is losing this shot, okay? I mean, I would give it to Breon because even though Peterson's back is thicker and wider, I think Breon just looks more proportionate and more complete from head to toe. And he's polished everywhere. I like his lower body more than Peterson's. Bumstead's just too shallow through the back, and the width, which looked so apparent from the front, doesn't seem to be on display here. So, and again, in the arm department, he's coming up a little short compared to these guys. So, yeah, Breon takes this one. In the ab and thigh, though, I think Bumstead has his turn here because I think he's smoking Breon right now. The X-frame that he has is just superb with the tiny waist, the lats flaring out, the quads sweeping, and the midsection's chiseled, nice and defined. Breon's midsection, again, it could just be due to bad lighting, but I'm not seeing much definition there. It just looks like it's kind of lost in shadow, looks kind of faded, and I think Bumstead's beating him easily on the quads here. I would probably even have Keon in second, and after that, Peterson looks a little blocky. Haven't really talked about Chen Kang much because I honestly don't think he really belongs in this call-out. I would have had probably Alex Cambronero because I think he was more conditioned, more balanced than this newcomer from China. I will say that Chen's got some amazing quads. He looks good, but I just don't think he has the same level of refinement and balance as these other guys. Classic pose of their choice. Yeah, we don't get a second look at the ab and thigh, but we don't really need one anyway. It's pretty obvious who was winning that. Classic pose, this is completely subjective because they're not even hitting the same pose. So for my money, I think Breon looks pretty good in the crucifix right here, but Bumstead also looks good with what he's doing. And Peterson's showing off his strength with the back. Keon looks amazing. And yeah, looks like Chen Kang's in the midst of hitting a vacuum. Good stuff. Here's another shot. Breon's doing something a little different here with this modified praying mantis pose. And to be honest, I prefer Bumstead's to Breon's here, just because I feel like Breon's pose makes him look a little small. It's kind of closed off. Bumstead's opening up nicely. It looks much larger, and he's just drawing your eye more, at least for me. So I get it. I understand why the judges gave it to him. But I think it was as close as the scorecard indicated, just 1 point. It could have gone either way, but I think Bumstead beat him in certain key areas like the legs. I think his torso was better than Breon's, at least from the front. Yes, Breon had a better back, that goes without saying, and better arms. But overall, I really like the package Bumstead brought this year, and I think he exudes classic. I mean, he's probably the closest thing that the modern bodybuilding scene has to a Frank Zane. And considering none of these other guys up here looks exactly like Arnold, that's about as classic as it gets, so I don't have a problem with the decision. And that's just my 2 cents on this, guys. So what do you guys think? I think it's very close, and opinions are going to differ, from individual to individual. But that's what it is at the end of the day for me. I think it was a fair decision, and I don't think anybody has any cause to be overly upset about this one, except, I guess, Breon and his camp. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for more. Until next time, this has been the Tominator signing off, and I'll be back.